Have you ever trusted the wrong people so completely that when they finally showed who they really were, it rewired your entire life? That's what happened to me the day my husband and his sisters abandoned me at a gas station 200 miles from home. Not by accident. Not because something went wrong, but as a joke. A prank. Entertainment. I remember the moment so clearly it still plays in my mind like a bad movie. Their laughter. The sound of the car engine revving. The way Matt leaned out the window, smirking like he'd just won something. And then, silence. Nothing but the blistering sun, the hum of traffic on the highway, and the realization that I was completely alone. 3 years have passed since that day. 3 years of building a life none of them knew existed. 3 years of healing, hiding, and rebuilding from the ashes of that humiliation. So imagine my shock when I woke up yesterday to see 89 missed calls from Matt. 89. It wasn't a coincidence. It wasn't accidental. It wasn't normal. It meant something had gone terribly wrong. But what came next would make everything I thought I knew about that day unravel faster than I could have imagined. Have you ever looked back on a memory and realized every red flag had been waving in your face, but you were too hopeful to see it? That's exactly how I feel now when I replay the day of the family road trip Matt invited me on. His sisters, Tessa, Rachel, and Lily, were suddenly all smiles, acting sweeter than they had in years. Compliments. Jokes. Fake warmth dripping from every word. Back then, I thought, maybe they're finally trying. Now I know they were rehearsing. The ride started fine. Music blasting, laughter echoing, the kind of chaotic energy that almost feels fun. But it was off. Forced. Like they were waiting for a punchline I didn't know existed. We stopped at a gas station in the middle of nowhere. One of those places where the air feels still, the sun hits too hard, and the nearest town feels like a rumor. "I'll be quick," I said as I stepped out. But when I walked back outside, everything changed. The engine roared. The car doors slammed. Matt leaned out of the window and shouted, "Figure it out yourself." Then they laughed. Not nervous laughter. Not guilty laughter. Full, delighted, vicious laughter. And the van sped away, taking my phone charger, my wallet, even my jacket with it. I stood there, stunned, watching the dust rise behind them. But little did they know, that was the last time any of them would ever see me unbroken. Have you ever been so betrayed that survival mode kicks in before the tears even fall? That's exactly what happened as I stood in that scorching gas station parking lot, watching the highway swallow the van that carried my entire old life away. For a few seconds, I just stood there frozen, numb, suspended between shock and clarity. Then reality hit. No wallet. No ride. No charger. Barely any battery left on my phone. And 200 miles between me and the place I once called home. Most people would panic. And trust me, part of me wanted to. But another part, the part their cruelty awakened, refused to break. That's when Hank appeared. A truck driver in his 50s, sunburned, kind eyes, and the sort of voice that sounded like it had seen a lot of life. He noticed me standing alone and walked over slowly, giving me space. "You all right?" he asked. I wasn't. But I nodded anyway. He didn't push. Just pointed at the shade beside his truck. "Come sit. It's too hot to think out here." I hesitated, because as betrayed as I felt, trusting anyone felt impossible. But something about him felt safe. We sat. I told him a little, not everything. He listened without judgment. Then he said the 5 words that changed the direction of my life. "I can take you anywhere." And in that moment, I realized I didn't want to go back home. Have you ever rebuilt your entire life from the ashes of a single moment? Because that's exactly what I did after Hank dropped me off in a small town 2 hours away, a town he said was quiet enough to heal in, but loud enough to start over. I remember stepping out of his truck with nothing but a half-dead phone, a crumpled hoodie he insisted I take, and a heart that felt split clean in two. But what surprised me most wasn't the fear. It was the relief. No more walking on eggshells. No more pretending to fit into a family that saw me as a punchline. No more Matt. At a corner cafe, I met Marisol, the kind of person who senses broken edges and doesn't run from them. She got me food, helped me find a room for the night, and gave me the name of someone hiring part-time help. All without asking for anything in return. And slowly, my life began to rebuild. I got a job, then a better job. I rented a small apartment with bright windows. I started therapy. I made friends. Real friends. I learned to breathe again. Months turned into a year. A year turned into 3. I blocked every number tied to Matt or his sisters. I erased them from my life with the same finality they used when they drove away from me. Until yesterday, when my phone lit up with 89 missed calls from a number I hadn't seen in years. And the voicemail attached to them froze me in place. Have you ever felt a ghost reach out from your past? Not to apologize, but to drag you back into the chaos you escaped? Because that's exactly what it felt like listening to the voicemail Matt left after those 89 missed calls. His voice wasn't angry. It wasn't mocking. It was terrified. Ava, please. Call me back. It's urgent. I need you. The same man who abandoned me 200 miles from home was suddenly desperate to hear my voice. If irony had a ringtone, that was it. Before I could process it, another message came in. This time from Lily, the youngest sister. Her voice cracked, thick with guilt. Ava, please. We're so sorry. You need to know what's happening with Matt. Need to know? Since when did they think I needed anything from them? I agreed to meet Lily, but only in a busy cafe. She walked in looking nothing like the smug girl from that road trip, eyes swollen, hands shaking, the weight of 3 years sitting heavy on her shoulders. And then she told me the truth. The prank? It wasn't spontaneous. It wasn't a joke gone too far. It wasn't even Matt's idea. They planned it, recorded it, intended to upload it for views. But the video resurfaced last week and went viral. And then Lily leaned in and whispered the part that made my stomach drop. Matt isn't calling because he wants you back. He's calling because he's afraid. Have you ever had someone beg for forgiveness? Not because they truly regretted what they did, but because life finally held them accountable? That's all I could think about as I walked into the cafe where Matt was waiting, smaller, thinner, and far more fragile than the man I once married. He stood when he saw me, relief flooding his face. Ava, thank God. I just want to talk. I didn't sit. I didn't smile. I didn't offer comfort. He started rambling about the video, the backlash, the people threatening his job, how he never thought things would get this bad. Not once did he say he regretted hurting me. Not once did he apologize for abandoning me. Not once did he ask if I was okay. He wasn't looking for forgiveness. He was looking for rescue. But I wasn't the same woman he left at that gas station. So I handed him an envelope. Inside, divorce papers I had drawn up years ago, signed, dated, final. I didn't vanish, I told him. I rebuilt. And that's something you can't undo. He stared at the papers, speechless. I turned to leave, feeling the weight of my past finally fall from my shoulders. Because sometimes disappearing isn't running away. Sometimes it's choosing yourself.